Kadambini is very fascinating character, and you might aware about the character of Kadambini. So let's jump to the next. So it's a basic information about me. So, in a previous presentation, we also told a lot talk about the Rabindranath Tagore. But here again, I would like to give a brief introduction about him. That Rabindranath Tagore, who is very well known as a Gurudev. So, Rabindranath Tagore was the youngest son of Rabindranath Tagore, a leader of the Brahmo Samaj, which was a new religion sect in the 19th century Bengal, in which attempt a revival of the ultimate monastic basis of the Hinduism as laid down in the Upanishad. So Rabindranath Tagore is the founder of the Santiniketan ashram, and he is famous for Gitanjali. For that work, he awarded a Nobel Prize in literature in 1993. So it is the basic information about the Rabindranath Tagore. And as we know that Rabindranath Tagore is a very well in India, especially he is a philosophy his works, and so many his works are adapted as a movie, as a serial. Some of the famous, I remember that this Home and the World also adapted as a movie. And director is Satyajit Ray, then Choker Bali, very well known serial. And we also like to read some of the short story. So in his work, he also talk about the moral of the life, contemporary issues, some of the contemporary situation of women. So Rabindranath Tagore is a very well-known author, or we can say writer, or we can say Indian writer. So work introduction, Home and the World. So Home and the World is originally written in a Bengali language, and with the title of the Ghare Bair, and it was published in the 1960. And the book is translated by the Surendranath Tagore. The genre of the work is the autobiographical novel. So how it is a autobiographical novel. So I have read somewhere that by this, with the help of this novel, Rabindranath Tagore wanted to describe the character of a Mahatma Gandhi with a reference of the Sandeep's character. So somewhere this book is reveals the autobiographical elements. So novel talk about the story of a Bimla, Nikhilesh, and Sandeep. So story has mainly 24 chapters. It is the epistolary novel as well as the autobiographical novel. And mainly story focuses on Bimla's character, and we can see that the story more focus how Bimla's character grow throughout the novel. And yes, Rabindranath Tagore described the Bimla as the India, and um, Sandeep as a Gandhiji, and Nikhilesh as a Rabindranath Tagore himself. So important event is the Swadeshi movement and how Bimla's character are changed in a novel. So now living or dead. So it's a very interesting short story by Rabindranath Tagore, and it's also originally written in a Bengali language, and with the title of Jibito or Mitra. It was written in 1892. It is a remarkable short story by the Tagore. The story combines the two unique forms of literature, the supernatural tale and the ironic parables. So in this story, you found that one widow. So I have chosen this Bimla and Kadambini because both are the opposite, but somewhere both are very connected with each other. Kadambini is the widow who wears only white color, while the Bimla is a woman with a very sophisticated attitude, and he never wear a white color. So this both mentality, that one is very rich, one is very elite, one have a freedom to do anything, but she wanted to kept herself in a house, and her house is the world for her, while the Kadambini is a widow, and he wanted to be free from everything, but she can't free from everything. And a very interesting turn comes when Kadambini suddenly dies. So this story is very interesting. The story Living or Dead mother explored the mother-son like relationship of a widow with the son of a brother-in-law. And the punchline of the story is Kadambini Morio, Praman Koryo, she more nine. It means that by dying, Kadambini proved that she did not die. So it's very ironical last line that By dying, she proved that she died. But before dying, she was alive, and for dying, for proving that she is died, she have to die. So it's very interesting to see that how at that time, at the Bengal, how treated widows in their societies like a as a we can say that widow is like a living dead person, that there is no value of her. So now let's jump toward our important character Bimla and Kadambini. So Bimla is the protagonist of the story, and there is the two side of Bimla. One side she is obedient wife, another side she is wanted to come out from the boundaries. She had a dark complexion, not a belonging from a very sophisticated family. So in the first chapter, in the home and the world, we can find that Bimla narrates the story and she tells that she is not so rich, so not sophisticated. No, she has not a very fair complexion. Still, Nikhil wanted to marry her because he is really sophisticated and he is very humble and kind by nature. And in the first chapter, we found that Bimla is like a very obedient wife. Like she every day used to touch the dust of her husband's leg, and she wanted to be a worshipper of him. But when slowly and steadily chapter narrated further, we found that her character is totally changed from the first chapter to last chapter. So it is very interesting to see that how Bimla's character changed throughout the novel. And by the presenting of a Bimla, Tagore represent the India, that how Swadeshi movement affect on India, and how India become a very we can say that no one control it, and who want to control it, they come and they started to controlling on people, and some of the particular person. So she had a dark complexion, as we are discussing. So, according to Barnana Guha, that through the Bimla, Tagore actually wanted to construct a new woman who will be a more ladylike, is that educated, sophisticated, holding on the Victorian value, unlike a common woman, who were a more coarse, vulgar, loud, quarrelsome, devoid of a superior moral sense, sexually promiscuously, and subject to the brutal physical oppression by the males. So, at the middle of the novel, we found totally changed Bimla. That first narration to last narration, she her character changed, and she also become a quarrelsome, vulgar, also very brutal. And now, David Atkinson wrote that Bimla is caught between the two men. Initially, she is seduced by the Sandeep's cause, although in her mind the exact nature of cause is never clear. So we can say that whatever Bimla was doing is not clear in mind. Someone is leading him. So it remained an ambiguous that fantasism for truth. Her personal attraction to the Sandeep feeds and sustains her commitment to his causes, and only late in the novel, when she has been driven to betrayal and abandon her husband, does she stop to reflect on what Sandeep represent. The freedom she thought Sandeep represented is reduced to a dried up water course with all its rock and pebbles laid bare. So, in a one research article, Dr. Harkishan written that Bimla, the wife of Nikhil, led a high content life of her own. Her home is her world. As I earlier told that, firstly, Bimla think that her home is everything for her. That is, she think that whatever is in the world is her home. So her husband is equal to God for him. Nikhil, who believes in a freedom and a dignity of the individual, does not like her treatment of him. Though Bimla is an uneducated, she is a status conscious. In order to appear as civilized and refined, she developed a taste of the current fashions. In spite of all this, she is dedicated to her husband's duties, and the Swadeshi movement changed her outlook, though she does not grasp the true spirit of the movement. So we can say that she has not idea what is the meaning of a Vande Mataram, or we can say Vande Mataram, but she was lead by the his Swadeshi movement, I have seen in movie that Nikhil's told Bimla that you first time meet another male expected from me, and that's why you feel this kind of change. So she was meeting a first time the another man, so we can say that another man create a great impact on him. So she mostly led by the idea of a Sandeep. The Swadeshi movement changed her outlook, though she does not grab the true spirit of the movement, and she acts on a impulse. At this moment, Sandeep, a friend of her husband, enters her life, and her admiration for Sandeep is due to his active involvement in the Swadeshi movement, and slowly her admiration for the Sandeep transforms into a strong passion, and now her home is not her world, and her world is a Sandeep, and she is quite aware of this fact. Now, jump toward the Kadambini. So, in the character of Kadambini, you totally find a contrast that whatever happened with Bimla and whatever happened with Kadambini is totally two different things. So, Kadambini is a young widow, and Vimla is a very young wife, we can say. She is a noble lady, but much dejected by the society for her widowhood. So we can assume that what was the situation at the time when uh, Tagore was written this story, that what kind of a situation widow were facing in a particular society. They are treating as a creature, as a ghost, as a non-living person. They wear only white saris, no hairs, no fashion, no colors in her life. She is a noble lady, and one of the important two or three, we can say, thing in her, that she is a full of passion and thoughtful woman. She is not a woman like a Bimla. She is suddenly doing things without knowing anything. So the main character in the living and the dead is a widow who dies suddenly and just a few hours later come back to the life. She exists in a liminal space between alive and dead. So everyone think that Kadambini was died, but actually she was not died. So she was living between these two canals. We can say one side word think that she was died, another side her existence is there. So obviously present as a person, and yet believed by all around her to be a ghost. It's a tormenting existence, and her second death at the end of the story prove an ironic confirmation that she was indeed alive the whole time. So it is very interesting to see that how her own family member treated her, that she was, when after the criminal that ceremony, after the death, she was thinking that my family, when they show me, they will be happy, but when her family saw them, so they get afraid that the ghost of that widow is come to the house. So it is a very ironical event for all of us, and as well as it is the irony of that particular society. So Monami Mukherjee written in her article that her inability to relate to the living world and her unconscious declaration of envy is ironically not entirely her own responsibility. She was rather a victim of what Lacan would have called the symbolic order, or a social culture code controlling her assessment of herself, and a code that are beyond the control of her mental frame. Her situation was beyond the scope of any conventional linguistic articulation, and hence she became a doubtful of the very meaning of her existence. That was not seen as a termination of a life process, but an undeniable fact, and solidified by a social ritual and other people conception. And despite being instinctively aware that she was alive, she is unable to deny the expectation of society that consider her to be a dead. So here is a comparison between the Bimla and Kadambini, and this comparison is doing by me, and I observe both the things and written here that Bimla is belonging from the simple family and married in aristocratic family. So her whole frame is taken by after marrying that firstly he was belonging non-rich family, not so fair by complexion, and after marriage her living sense, ideas are totally changed. And so Bimla is the protagonist in the same Kadambini story woven around the Kadambini. Her character development is the main idea of the novel. First time meet another man beside her husband, that was Sandeep, and her stealing money from his husband is the turning point of her life. That is the first time going against her husband and stealing money from his her husband's Tijuri. At the end, she became a widow of Nicholas. Her end was also tragic. But here, Kadambini, in the case of Kadambini, we can see that she is the widow of the beginning of the story. Whole story around her character, and she was belonging in the aristocratic family. So we can also imagine that at that time in the at the before the party before our independence, the situation like in this aristocratic family, women also treated as a creature, as a non-living thing, especially widows. So we can assume that there is no place for widow in a society. And depicting her, Tagore discussed the situation of widow situation before the independence, and at the end she have killed herself by throwing herself from the window. And Bengali widow situation is very important and very, we can say, ironical through light on the particular time. So here is my citation. Thank you.
Okay, questions to Nidhi.
Nidhi, what have you seen specific in
Hello Niyati, can you please repeat the question?
Sure. What have you seen specific in characters of Bimla and Kadambini?
Uh, so, uh, very important thing. The fascinating. I was thinking that the character of the both women. That one has freedom. Her husband is allowing her to knitting, for dancing, singing, but she was doing some another thing that she was against him. She was not able what her husband want to do or want to become her. And another side, the character of Kadambini, she wanted to prove herself that she was a living, but people think that she was not living. So these both ideas are catching my attention toward the both characters. Thank you, Niyati.
Yes, Neha. According to you, Bimla and Kadambini, which character is more fascinating for you?
Thank you, Didi. Am I audible? Okay. So according to me, character of Kadambini is more fascinating because she represents the whole womanhood, widow womanhood of the Bengal. Thank you.
Okay, so the next presenter is Niyati.